promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar, Monrovia, Banjul, 7 o'clock in Lagos, Cotonou and Niamey. Good evening, and thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide at wadr.org. This is Newslink. Here are the top stories. Nigeria's late former President Buhari finally laid to rest amid outpouring grief.
We seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgiveness for the Muhammad Buhari.
What I will remember about him is when he was ruling, things are not that hard in the country.
I can remember him for number one, for his cashless policy, make Nigeria to live below poverty level.
Ghana's President Mahama cancels allocation of fuel allowances to political appointees of his government. Campaign closes for Togo's July 17 municipal elections.
We
arrived here at 5:30 a.m. to take all the necessary provisions, and together with the team, we went to take the insulators and the equipment. Everything is going well.
Senegalese President Diomaye Faye arrives in Cotonou, Benin for a state visit. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
We are glad that you have joined our broadcast. We begin with an update from Nigeria, where the remains of former President Muhammadu Buhari have been laid to rest in his hometown of Dara, Katsina State, amid a solemn ceremony attended by a large crowd of mourners from across the country and beyond. The late general, who served Nigeria both as military ruler from 1983 to 1985 and civilian president from 2015 to 2023, died on Sunday afternoon in a London hospital. WADR's Usma Umar have been monitoring proceedings and now reports from Abuja.
A hush fell over the usually quiet town of Daura on Tuesday as thousands of mourners gathered to bid farewell to one of Nigeria's most prominent political figures. The body of former President Muhammadu Buhari arrived Katsina Airport aboard a Nigerian Air Force presidential aircraft and was received by a large crowd that included dignitaries, clerics, political leaders, military officials and residents. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu led the Nigerian delegation, accompanied by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, several current and former governors, ministers, and military chiefs. Foreign dignitaries and representatives of world leaders also attended to pay their last respects. The Janaza, that is the Islamic funeral prayer, took place at the Daura helipad, after which the late president was buried in a simple grave within the courtyard of his private residence, the same compound he returned to after leaving office in 2023. Family members, including his widow, Aisha Buhari, and their children were present during the burial, overwhelmed with grief as Daura stood still in mourning. Observers noted that the burial site, located within a modest home shared with his family, reflects Buhari's well-known Spartan lifestyle. Known for his austere approach to public office, he was said to have owned only two residences, one in Daura and the other in Kaduna, a rare modesty for someone who held Nigeria's highest office. The passing of Muhammadu Buhari, who served Nigeria as both military leader and a civilian president, marks the end of an era defined by strong convictions, discipline and simplicity. His death continues to evoke tributes and reflections across the West African sub-region and beyond. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Meanwhile, Nigerians have been reacting to the death of former President Muhammadu Buhari, who passed away on Sunday. Why many remember him for the austerity measures the country passed through, others expressed profound memories of him. Let's take a listen.
It's a great loss to Daurawa, Katsina, and the entire nation. In fact, his demise is really touching, heart-touching. We will never forget.
I can remember him for the hostility he caused to whole Nigeria. He made Nigeria to live a unbearable life. Number one, for his cashless policy, which he introduced during that election period, make Nigeria to live below poverty level. Many die Many were frustrated. And well, though he has dead, now nothing we can say about him. May he so rest in perfect peace.
Wherever you go, you will see people are praying for Buhari. We seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgiveness for the Muhammad Buhari.
What I will remember about him is when he was ruling, things are not that hard in the country. The petrol, things are moving on very fine. Yes.
Some Nigerians reacting to the death of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye has arrived in Cotonou, the capital of Benin, for a working visit to that country. While departing Dakar, Diomaye Faye was accompanied to the airport by his Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko, who recently criticized a crisis of authority within the government. The Senegalese head of state was received at Cotonou Airport by the Benin's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Olusegun Ajabi Bakari. President Faye and his Beninese counterpart Patrice Talon are meeting face-to-face at the Marina Palace this evening. On this occasion, the two men will discuss strengthening the bond of fraternity, friendship and friendly cooperation between the two countries. This visit marks the first by the Senegalese head of state since assuming the country's highest office in April 2024. He will also inquired about the living conditions of Beninins and present his mandate program known as the Project. It should be noted that upon his departure, the head of state was accompanied by his Prime Minister, who is still being described and discussed in the public for his recent statement. Meanwhile, the Constitutional Court in Benin officially unveiled the calendar of the general elections, which are scheduled for the year 2026. This publication on Monday marks an advanced stage in the electoral process in a spirit of openness, transparency, and institutional rigor. According to the new calendar, Benin's voters will be called to the polls twice in 2026. For the legislative election set for January 11, then for the presidential election, which will take place in 2 rounds on April 12 and May 10, respectively. The document published by the court is presented in 3 parts: activities common to the 2 elections, a specific calendar for the legislative elections, and another devoted to the presidential election. Crossing over to Togo, where citizens are called to the polls on July 17, 2025 for the municipal council elections. As part of the electoral process, advanced voting for the armed and security forces, as well as the paramilitary and operational reserve forces, took place on Monday, July 14, throughout the country. The Independent National Elections Commission maintains its preparedness to conduct credible municipal polls. Christopher Aticho has the details in this report.
From Lome to Daupang, soldiers, gendarmeries, paramilitary forces, and operational reserve personnel performed their civic duty. This exceptional vote, in accordance with a directive by the Independent National Electoral Commission, (SENI), allows uniformed personnel to ensure the safety of voters and electoral operations on election day. Within the grounds of the General Nyasingbe Iyadema camp, better known as the RTI camp, numerous uniformed personnel answered the call to duty. Some held their cards by exception and others by proxy. Edem Agbenyenu is a polling station president.
There is no problem. Most of the soldiers are not here. Most of them came to vote by derogation. They were hired to serve here, so they came to vote by derogation. And there are also some soldiers who are in the front who could not move, so they made their inquiries to their friends who came to vote for them.
On the side of the EPP camp and GGE, all arrangements were made for the smooth running of this vote. The president of the BV, Pes Siam Potoli, stated,
We arrived here at 5:30 a.m. to take all the necessary provisions. And together with the team, we went to take the insulators and the equipment. We came, we opened everything, and we showed that the ballot box is empty. All the equipment is also there, and we started at 7 a.m. It's going well. Everything is going well.
Early voting allows uniformed personnel to participate in the election before the official day, thus facilitating coordination and security management on election day. At the close of early voting, no vote counting took place. The sealed ballot box, accompanied by all electoral documents, were taken to the headquarters of the Independent Local Electoral Commission and stored in a secured location. On Thursday, July 17, the general vote will continue with the election of 1,663 municipal councillors in Togo's 117 municipalities.
Christopher Aticho with the details of Sylvie Wadraogo's report from Lomé.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama has directed the immediate cancellation of fuel allowances and allocations for all political appointees as part of measures to control government spending. The directive, contained in a statement signed by Government Communications Minister Felix Kwasi-Ofosu, said the move forms part of the administration's ongoing efforts to reduce public expenditure and channel funds into key priority areas of the economy. Whereas the minority in parliament has labeled the move as populist and arrogant. Policy think tank Amity Africa also welcomed the development as a progressive move. Let's turn our attention to some judicial matters now. In Cote d'Ivoire, the appeal trial of the 19th people involved in a record drug seizure case concluded on Monday. The case dates back to April 2022, when Ivorian police intercepted 3 tons of cocaine in Abidjan and San Pedro. The defendants were tried at first instance before being taken to the criminal court for economic offenses and financial division. In May 2024, 13 of them received the maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. However, they appealed and their trial is on the way. Sankule Janko completes the story.
The last day of the trial took place on Monday, during which the Court of Appeals in Abidjan held a crucial hearing of this emblematic case. The lawyer for the civil party requested confirmation of the initial verdict, arguing that the serious charges against the accused are fully substantiated. The prosecutor presented a detailed account of each individual's role in what he described as a structured criminal organization. At the center of this network is Miguel de Bizar, a Spanish researcher identified as the main instigator. From the outset of the investigation, he admitted to introducing drugs into Ivorian territory. There are implications involving local personalities from San Pedro who are accused of aiding in the circulation of the illicit merchandise. However, these accusations have been firmly denied by those involved. Bezos' lawyer, Master Zakaria Toure, argued for a reduction of the penalty, citing his client's active cooperation with the authorities, which had allegedly led to the arrest of other members of the network.
Sankule Janko with that report. For more judicial matters, let's focus on the Central Sahel region, particularly Mali, where journalist Seydou Oumar Traoré is facing a 6-month prison sentence and a fine of 1 million CFA francs. He was sentenced by the court of the National Cybercrime Unit on Monday. Traoré, the Director General of Radio Boale, was found guilty of insulting a foreign head of state, specifically the President of Guinea, through comments made in a video posted on social media. In this widely circulated online video, he discussed alleged discussions between the Guinean authorities and armed groups operating in the Sahel region. According to the prosecution, journalist Seydou Traoré's statement made a damage on the reputation of a foreign leader, which constitutes a violation of the Malian Penal Code. This is not the first time Traoré has faced legal issues. In November 2020, he was provisionally imprisoned for comments that were deemed critical of the Malian judicial system during a radio broadcast. His recent conviction comes amid a stranger stance by the Malian authorities against content considered subversive or harmful to diplomacy. You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Nigeria's late former President Buhari finally laid to rest amid outpouring grief. Campaign closes for Togo's July 17 municipal elections. Ghana's President Mahama cancels allocation of fuel allowances to political appointees of his government. Senegalese President Diomaye Faye arrives in Cotonou, Benin for a state visit. Still ahead, we have guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
We are streaming live on YouTube at WADR News and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Now, away from Mali, the Liberian Senate has officially commenced the confirmation hearing for Associate Justice Yami Gbesi, the nominee for the position of Chief Justice of the Republic. The hearing began on Monday before the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights, Claims and Petitions as part of the Senate's constitutional duty to uphold judicial appointments. WADR's Monrovia correspondent Ibrahim Parker reports.
During his confirmation hearing, Justice Yomi Gbesi emphasized the urgent need for reform, advocating for a comprehensive review of Liberia's 1986 constitution to align it with contemporary realities. He pointed out that several provisions in the current constitution are outdated and contradictory to modern legal developments.
I know why in West Africa now where you see a jury trial is mandatory. No, but we have in our constitution, they're making the court inefficient. They never do one. Because population are increased, crime are increased, ethnicity of people are increased, business are increased. So issues now going to court are many. Now you have a situation that the court is tied down. That is the situation all over the country. We need to visit our constitution.
The nominated Chief Justice also highlighted pressing issues such as line disputes and delays in judicial processes which hindered ordinary Liberians from accessing justice. He stated that addressing these concerns would be part of his reform measures if he is confirmed as the country's next Chief Justice.
The legal profession is falling apart. When I joined the legal profession 27 years ago, everybody was operating for a law firm and the law firm was responsible for the action. But today, everybody practically on we need to reform the system to make sure that if you are president lawyer, you are president for a law firm and that law firm is responsible. But to a large extent, we are losing a lot of grip on our profession, and I can assure that that's one of the things I'm going to be working with.
The decision regarding Gbesi's appointment now rests with the majority members of the Senate Committee on Judiciary, who will later vote on his confirmation during plenary sections. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
Taking you back to the Central Sahel, this time in Burkina Faso, where the Federation of Islamic Association is taking a stand against hate speech by religious preachers. Known as the FIBE, the Federation has published a code of conduct on religious discourse that applies to preachers of Islam as well as Quranic teachers. Penalties are provided for violators, which may include persecution. Imo Edit has the details.
The Federation of Islamic Associations of Burkina Faso is increasing its efforts against hate speech. Following the Guide on Alternative Discourse submitted to the government last week, the Umbrella Organization of Islamic Associations is publishing a code of conduct on religious discourse. The document is addressed to preachers, religious guides, and Quranic teachers. Seni Nana is a member of the Islamic Discourse Listening Committee.
It is forbidden to treat a Muslim as a miscreant, pervert, or innovator, or to accuse him of a behavior that requires a testimony, such as the treatment of an adulterer. It is forbidden to qualify one of the associations by words that cause trouble, such as Wahhabism, Haragi, Bidah, terrorism, sects, etc.
This code of conduct is being published amid frequent social media posts, videos, and audios whose authors point to other religious trends. The FIBE warns that from now on, sanctions will be imposed on those who fail to comply with this code of conduct on religious discourse. It states that these sanctions will be implemented in 3 stages.
Step 1. Summoning the contractor to discuss public advice and excuses to interest him. Step 2. A ban on preaching to pronounce all Islamic discourse. If all support is pronounced against the contractor, the ban on preaching is a minimum of 2 years. Step 3. The absence of solutions to the issue of steps 1 and 2 leads to the transfer of the file to competent authorities.
As a reminder, this code of conduct on Islamic discourse was adopted last Saturday on the sidelines of the National Training Seminar for Imams and Preachers. During the event, 250 people were trained on Islamic discourse in the digital age.
Imo Edit Faida the report.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
In this segment of Newslink, our focus is on the life and time of the late Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari, who has been buried, according to Islamic rites, in his hometown Dora, Katsina State, northwestern region of the country. Our guest is public affairs analyst Judy Ojo. He analyzes comments of Nigerians over the circumstances surrounding his death in a foreign hospital.
Specifically to the issue you raised, I've also read and saw comments to that effect. But what we need to understand is that it's about choice. Buhari had been in the corridors of power from his 20s when he was military administrator, before he became head of state, before he became chairman of Petroleum Trust Fund, and before he also became the two-time civilian president. He perhaps been using the London hospital over decades, and that is the norm from time immemorial. Almost all our former presidents, Wadr died in Saudi Arabian hospital, and it's not just Nigerian thing, it's an African thing. I quite agree that perhaps he could have spent significant resources to develop Nigerian healthcare system to be able to handle his health challenge. But again, it's about human rights issue. You may have a world-class facility in your own country. For the privacy of your disease, you may choose to go outside. And is of the privileged class of Nigeria. So you cannot subject him to willy-nilly having to do his attend to his healthcare system, healthcare in Nigeria. So that's the way I see it. It's desirable that we should have a world-class health facility in Nigeria. Remember, it was only his tenure that they said even the State House Clinic does not have a scan machine. They don't even have the basics. And tens of billions are annually budgeted for that facility, which never gets either released or misappropriated. So,
indeed. Well, while you've said this, do you think partisan politics affected the persona of Buhari?
Of course it did. He said he was a converted Democrat. His first tenure between December 31, 1983 to August 27, 1985, he was a military head of state who ruled autocratically, or if you choose to use the word in a draconian manner. Remember the war against indiscipline which he introduced, where soldiers whip people to queue up to be served, at bus stations, at marketplaces, at public places. And when people say, oh, this man has a military background and will not be amenable to his civil rule. But he said he's a turncoat. Not turncoat, he is a converted Democrat. And we can see that in some of the things he initiated, which he has to lobby the National Assembly to pass. When he was head of state, his word was law. He's used to giving orders. But civil rule have to mellow him. He has to play ball. He has to send emissaries to lobby for things to be done. I recall very vividly his complaints about the padded budget, that the budget he sent to the National Assembly was padded. And in one instance, he said he was not going to sign the budget. But he was persuaded that this is democracy And it is for give and take.
Yeah.
That he cannot have his way all the time. So I believe that politics really impacted him one way or the other.
What would you say was the most profound aspect of Buhari? A lot of people are talking about the PIB, which he signed and gave way for private individuals like Dangote to establish refineries and other private institutions that have come on board since then.
I remember him for quite a lot of things, a lot. More. Reality speaking, the guy did his level best for Nigeria. Aside from the war against the discipline, his anti-corruption credentials are very high. Even though the people he entrusted the fight to may have circumvented the law one way or the other, but at least the fact that he initiated it.
That's G.D. Ojo. He is a public affairs analyst. Now Sankule Janko joins me with the latest in the world of sports. Good evening, Sankule.
Good evening, Augustine, and of course, good to be here. It's time for
The WAFCON tournament has reached its decisive stage right now with the quarterfinals. I'm saying 4 West African teams. Am I correct?
Yes, you are right, Augustine. We have 4 West African countries representing, of course, the region in the quarterfinal stage of the Women Africa Cup of Nations. Let me give you just a rundown of some of the fixtures. First of all, the knockout fixture will start on Friday with host Morocco facing Mali at the Olympic Stadium. That is one West African country, just like you said. And also we'll have Nigeria, facing Zambia in a high-stake clash at the Labi Zuli Stadium. For so many people, that is too early a fixture. They should have probably met in the semi-final or the final, because both of these teams are potential winners, So mind you, they are very, very, very good teams. On July 19, Ghana will take on Algeria, while South Africa, the reigning champions, will take on Senegal later that is July 19 on Saturday.
But what do you make of Mali facing the host?
That's going to be very difficult for Mali because, of course, Morocco, aside from the fact that they are a very good team, the home support is there. So it's like 12 women playing. It's going to be like 12 people playing against 11 people.
Okay, so far.
Yeah, so far. And all we need to know, winners move up to the semi-finals on July 28 and 24, and the final set-off for July 26 at the Olympic Stadium. A third place will be played on July. But before we go, Augustine, there's another story about an African, a West African for that matter, because former Ivorian international Kolo Toure has returned to Manchester City, this time stepping into a permanent role as assistant coach under Joseph Pep Guardiola.
That is commendable and it's something to celebrate.
He has been carving his skills, his coaching skills for a while since he retired. He has joined Leicester City, he has joined Liverpool as a backroom staff, and now he has joined his former team Manchester City under Pep Guardiola, under the tutelage of Pep Guardiola. That is a good thing.
Something to watch out for.
Something to watch out for.
Right, thank you, Sankule, with the latest in the world of sports. With that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Falilu Sow and to Sheikh Njai for the technical support. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, Instagram at WADR English, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. I am Augustine Cully. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 1.